Hello, everyone, and welcome to Move Daily Talks. Today, I'm here with my friend and special guest, Kim Hogarth. Kim is actually one of our coaches at Move Daily Fitness, and we met never in person, but we met years ago when she became a member in our membership. And one of the things that drew me to her was that I would notice some of the comments, some of the responses that she would give other members. And I thought the encouragement was amazing. Everything that she said, I was like, I would say the same thing. So when I saw that, I was very drawn to her and had her take over our Move Daily Hustle public Facebook group, which she's run for years now and has done such a great job. And so I thought, I have to work with this person. How am I going to do that? And eventually she came on. She's part-time with us at Move Daily and such a great addition because she's so smart. Kim, welcome today.
Thank you, Tracy. That's lovely. You are too kind, as always, in your introduction. No, it's wonderful, obviously, to be here today to talk a bit about my Move Daily journey, and obviously I get to ask you some questions, which I'm sure everybody is excited to hear about. So that's going to be wonderful. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the journey the last sort of few years has been incredible. So it's lovely to be here today and something else that's new in the Move Daily membership and going out to the world. So it's fabulous, yeah, to be here. So nice.
Okay, so you've got questions, but I'll also have some questions for you. So we're going to do back
Okay.
and forth here. So why don't you start off? What do you got for me?
Sure, of course. So, it would be great. I know many people have known you for a long time because you've been in the industry a long time, but it'd be great just to understand a little bit about your own personal journey in the fitness wellness industry and what kind of inspired you to create Move Daily Fitness.
Good question. So, yeah, how did I start? Years ago, probably I want to say 20 years ago, we lived beside some people who were both personal trainers. And I would see their day to day and how they would, run their company, and they did in-home training. And I would chat with her a lot. And I thought, oh, that looks so fun. I'd like to do that. So I segued from counseling into this position of a personal trainer. I would go into homes, but of course, I always had that sort of psychology background. So I would look at things through the lens of psychology, right? So looking at fitness, wellness, and nutrition, but knowing that it wasn't enough just to give someone a fitness plan or a diet because there were other things going on. And so that was my goal when I worked with clients one-on-one, was to open up Pandora's box and see what was beneath the surface, right? What was driving the poor habit choices or behaviors? What was driving the inability to follow through? What was driving the lack of grit or determination or willpower? What was behind the person? And I thought, like when I started to do that, actually, my company was first called Inside Out Fitness. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. This is amazing. So, what made you change the name to Move Daily?
Well, I think one of my mottos just became, if nothing else, if you do nothing else, if you can't dial in your nutrition, if you can't dial in the self-care, if you can't get up at your 5 a.m. and do your structured workout, what if you could just do something daily? And so I would
Yeah.
say that to my in-home clients. I would just say, just do something daily to move forward. And that was
Hmm.
always my thought. I was like, okay, how do we move the needle toward better health? How do we optimize health? And really, that back a long time ago came that quote from Ovid: dripping water on the stone hollows it out, not through force, but through persistence. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if we just drip the water every day, like keep the faucet on, right? And do something every day, then we're going to move the needle toward better health. So I don't know, just from that, I think came the phrase, you've got to move daily. And then, yeah, that just stuck. So I bought the website, and and then it's been Move Daily ever since.
Yeah, and it's gone through so many transitions, and you've added on so many different features and programs and everything over the whole journey. It must feel
Yeah.
like it's been a real voyage of discovery and just exciting to understand how all these things are unfolding.
Yeah, it has been. It's, you start so small, right? And you wonder if anyone's going to follow you at all. I think my first program was a 6-week accountability strength program. And I'll tell you, we actually have members who joined me way back then. I think it was 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now, who are still members today, which to me is just such a testament of the community that we've built, right? With what we're focusing on too. Like it's like I said, it's not just a diet and an exercise plan and then off you go, just do the thing. Because what I found over the years is that so often we just couldn't stick to those things. So I did a deep dive, on I people I trained, and I would take a look and think some people can stick with this and it's their lifestyle. It's who they are, which came the phrase people like us do things like this, which is from Seth Godin, a marketer extraordinaire. And I love that phrase. So I'm like, I'm going to tag that. And so, but some people just couldn't stick with it, right? They would come for a short period of time, or they would commit to, and some exercise, some fitness, but then they would fall off. And so my journey was like, okay, why is this? Why is there a people group who can totally make it stick and change their lifestyle and move the needle toward better health, optimizing all of the things? And why can some not? And so that was great to actually explore and discover, because there's lots of reasons why people can't or won't commit, right? And it's not just as easy as, well, you just don't have the willpower. You just don't have the determination. That's it. No, it was, what's your history? What's your background? What has written on the slate of who you are from early childhood? How were you brought up? What did your parents value? Did they value fitness, wellness, and nutrition? Did they let you play outside? Did they value healthy foods choices for you? Or did they not? Were there other things going on? Environment, again, I've talked about this lots, but the Framingham Heart Study was a really interesting study that was done on a town. I think they studied about 5,000 people, and they looked over the span of about 70 years. It's been an ongoing study. So 2 generations or 3 generations worth, which is fantastic. And what they found was that not only was obesity contagious, but healthy habits were also contagious. So if someone stopped smoking and they were in your family, another member was more likely to stop. If someone overate or was obese, all of the members were more likely to be the same as well. So when you look at that and you say, well, people live in specific environments, they're going to be influenced by those around you, then it stands to reason that it's going to be more challenging for them once they get into that spot. And so this was another reason that we've created this community that we have at Move Daily, right? Our membership, our public group, just so that people who have no support around them could have some support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a fundamental part. And it almost goes back to what you're saying about being in it for the long haul, because actually we see our members really go on a journey, don't we?
Yeah.
They come to us perhaps for an initial goal that may be around weight loss or gaining lean muscle or something similar, but they stay because we take them through so many other goals and things maybe even they didn't even know they needed or wanted to change. But as they begin to discover more about themselves and understand where their behaviors and habits are coming from, they then begin to realize, oh, okay, I need to address this. This will influence this. And that's where obviously your psychology background and the coaching already comes into play, because as you say, it's not just going, here's a diet plan, here's a workout plan, go follow this and lose your weight. It's so much more than that. And that's why people have been with you for so many years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think because we're looking at the whole woman, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at how can she be the best version of who she is, who she can be,
Mhm.
and not comparing herself to me or to you, but comparing herself, to who she
Yeah,
was yesterday. And I
exactly.
think that is so key, because that's comparison can be the thief of joy when we look to others and go, okay, I'm not where she's at. I'm not as strong. I don't lift the same amount of weights. I'm not as lean. Who
Yeah,
cares? Right?
totally.
Are you a better version of who you were yesterday? That's the target, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's key you've used the word yesterday, not 20 years ago, because
Yeah.
we were very different women in our youth. And actually, so many women come to us, don't they? And they're like, oh, I don't look like I did when I was 25, and nothing's working for me like it was when I was 35. And that's because we become very different in midlife and in our current age and our season. And I think allowing women to be okay with that is a huge part of what you do. And that reassurance that they can be confident to still make changes regardless of where they are in their life is so pivotal, because it's almost like a release. You can let go of all of that. You don't have to be who you were when you were 25. It's okay to be right now. And if you want to make changes, that's great. But as you say, it's about comparing who you were yesterday, not kind of 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I think too that, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe our main target or goal was aesthetics, what we
Mm-hmm.
looked like on the outside. And what I love about our community is that so many women are focused a little bit more internally now, right?
Totally.
Well,
Yeah.
who am I on the inside, not only psychologically and spiritually and my personality and my growth that way, but also, am I optimizing for health? Am I
Mm-hmm.
strong? Do I have a focus on increasing lean mass so that I don't become frail as I age? Do I have a focus on staving off metabolic disease, right? Or heart disease, cardiovascular disease? And so for me, it's changed so much. Yes, I still want to look and feel my best, in my body, but my focus has changed tremendously to increase longevity, right? I
Yeah,
want to be here for the
absolutely.
long haul because I have lots of goals and, profound reasons why I want to live to be 100. So then, as Dr. Peter Attia says, you think about who you want to be, how you want to show up at that marginal decade, so that those last 10 years of life, and then you begin to reverse engineer those micro processes, the dripping water on the stone, on a day-to-day basis that is going to help you get to that spot. So I think that's my new thing. It's my thing. I like
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And actually, that moves us beautifully on to our next question. So,
Okay.
when it comes to when we're talking about women in midlife, like you and I are, and like many of our members are, what specific challenges do you kind of feel that women come to us with?
Well, right now, don't you think it's like hormones?
Uh-huh. I was gonna
Like
say
hormones
menopause
is
is
a
top of
huge
my
thing.
list. Yeah,
Menopause,
totally.
perimenopause, those are big challenges right now. What's happening in their lives is challenging
Hmm.
right now, right? We're in a phase that's weird. If you're in your 50s, 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, you probably have aging parents or maybe parents who have already passed. Maybe you have young adult children that you're still concerned about, right? Maybe
Absolutely.
your relationship is dissolving and that's a stressor on you. Maybe you're, at that crux or the busiest time in your career.
Mhm.
So maybe you're caring for grandkids. So there's lots. I mean, we always have phases in our life, I think, that are busy regardless, but it's an intense time. I think a lot of people are going through loss, so therefore grief, and you have these targets that you have for yourself and that you want to move through, but then all of a sudden, you have these menopausal symptoms that are making you feel crazy, and then you have this other stressors in terms of what I've just mentioned all around you as well. So, there's a lot going on. And how do you prioritize part of yourself? Well, one of the things I was told by a supervising therapist once, I loved this analogy. I've given it a couple times, but he said that your health is like the glass ball, right? That's your health. It's a glass ball. All the other balls in your life are rubber balls. So if, say, for example, you drop the ball of committing to the PTA or showing up for that meeting and, it just stresses you out, that's a ball that will bounce back up. Even you're losing your job can be a ball that bounces back up, and you start something different, and you move forward. But your health is a glass ball, and if that one drops, that's it. And
Yeah.
so with that mindset, I thought, I just have to be as healthy as I can. Right. And so that's what we want for our people too, is that let's put ourselves on the list, because if you drop the glass ball, there's no ability for you to do any of the other rubber ball things that are important to you. And when I heard that, I just made it the top priority. I made myself the top priority. And again, I get that there's things that show up throughout the day, throughout our month, through seasons. But one of the things, I don't know if you ever read that book, 148 Hours, or is it 168 Hours by Vanderkamp, Laura Vanderkamp. 168 maybe.
I
Anyway,
think it is, yeah.
yeah, she tells this story in the book about what would happen if, for an example, your hot water tank blew and all of a sudden you have to deal with it because it's flooding your basement, which has happened to us. I've had this scenario before. And you shift things around, you juggle, you get someone to watch the kids, you postpone a meeting, you reschedule this and that, and you make time for that catastrophe, right? Because it's important. You have to get it done. You've got to find the time. And then when you look back and it took, 10 hours, you're like, how did I find the time for that? But you did. Well, I think if you can think of the criticalness of your health like that, that you just have to make time. It's as crucial as your busted hot water tank that's flooding your basement,
Yeah,
right? But here's the thing. People think, I feel okay today. I don't have heart disease today. I don't have diabetes today, and so they don't fix the roof while the sun is shining, right? They don't
yeah,
fix the roof while the sun is shining. And so then all of a sudden, the next day, something happens, you go to the doctor, you're diabetic or you have heart disease, right? So I think that's a really important mindset to keep as well, is that every day we've got to fix the roof. We got to go outside because we feel okay today, but you've got to be that preventative. You've got to work on that preventative measures in order to make sure that it's okay tomorrow as well. And even if it's not, like one of our members passed recently, and she said to me, I'm in a good position. She was fighting cancer, and she said, I'm in a good position right now because, Tracy, I've fixed the roof while the sun is shining, which means she did everything that she could to set herself up to fight this cancer as best she could. Unfortunately, it was a really rare type, and it did take her life. But you know, sometimes that happens, right? That is part of life sometimes, and that's the hard part. But for a lot of people, fixing the roof while the sun is shining will mean longevity. It will mean an extended lifespan. It will mean staving off disease and decay. And so I think that's just an important thing to remember.
yeah, totally. I think hedging your bets and lowering your risk. I mean, why would we not take that approach if it's within our gift to do so? I also think I was reflecting as you were talking that I think as women, we do a lot of things because we think we should, and we forget that there's the power of choice in quite a lot of the things that we do. Certainly, if you've always had a really clean house and that takes up so much of your time and it means you don't have time for yourself, maybe choose not to do that because, the sky's not going to fall potentially if you therefore do something else with that time. And I think it's kind of almost pausing to reflect on everything you do and then what could be dropped because there is something more important that is now there, and that is your health and the time that you need to spend on yourself, as you say.
Yeah. Reevaluating. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a
Pausing. I
good
think
point.
we're so busy all the time. It's really hard just to go, I'm just going to stop and work out if I'm doing what's right for me right now. And if I'm not, what can be changed? And also asking for help, I think, and not being afraid to do that. I think we so feel we're letting people down if we say, actually, I'm choosing, like you're saying with the PTA, perhaps it's standing down from the PTA completely because it's burning you out or it's causing too much stress or you don't have time for your own health. And again, it's knowing it's okay to make that choice for you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's definitely not selfish because as you say, you're investing time in yourself, which is going to make you more capable to actually, be there for the people you need to be. So
That's great.
reassessing is really, really good.
I like it.
Wonderful.
I
Cool.
like it.
Okay.
What else
Next
we got?
question. Yeah. So, in your experience, what are some of the common misconceptions or myths about fitness and nutrition for women over 40? And how do you debunk them through your coaching?
Well, I think people think that it should happen lickety split.
100%. I know. Like, why am I not thin 2 days after I started?
I
It
know, I
doesn't work like
know.
that.
Well, and think about how long it took you to get to that position. And that is what's sad,
Mhm.
because we do want to feel good today. We want it to be so quick. And so we often will see this drastic move towards cutting food, cutting calories, over exercising, and it's just
Yeah.
not sustainable for the long haul, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think one of the big misconceptions is that change could happen quickly, and it just doesn't. People will so often ask, they're like, "How do I get sculpted arms? How long will it take?" And I understand that some people want a time frame so they can gauge or measure their own progress. And what gets tracked and measured gets changed, right? So I think James Clear said that, and I think that's really important to track and gauge your progress, but set realistic expectations as well, right? As women over 40, we are slower at building lean muscle tissue. So that's going to take longer because now as you age, after the fourth decade of life, you start to deplete in lean muscle, right? We start to lose muscle as we age and run the risk of developing sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. So that's a very real thing. Oh, our appetites can tend to go down or maybe shift. And so we're not eating adequate amounts of protein to help with that muscle building process. And so when those two things come into play, it's just more challenging to shift and change and sculpt the arms or build the muscle and lose the weight as well.
Yeah,
Of course,
absolutely.
with declining estrogen and hormones
Mm,
dropping, it's even more challenging to lose body fat. So to recognize there's more going on than just, like I said, when you were in your 20s or 30s and you could just stop eating for a week or whatever, and then you'd be right back to where you were. It's different now. And so you have to really recognize that there's been a shift, there's been a change, and you need to approach it a bit differently and
yeah,
think, okay, yes, I'll set some targets for myself, perhaps in terms of how much weight to lose in a specific amount of time, but don't make it drastic, right? Because what we're about here is making sustainable changes for the long haul, forever and ever. Because do you want to be back on this hamster wheel again next year? Right? No, this
yeah,
is
exactly.
losing weight's hard, right?
Hmm.
Getting fit is challenging. It's hard. Um, I heard the adage once that it's harder to lose weight than to maintain weight, which is
100%.
true, right? Like so, but maintaining is also hard.
Hmm.
Maintaining is
Hmm.
also a challenge, right? I mean, I would love to just eat as many cookies at a sitting as I'd want and then just binge watch Netflix for days. I wouldn't feel great afterwards, so maybe I wouldn't love that. But there's lots of times for food and stuff. I think I wish I could eat more of this, and not that I couldn't, but I have goals and targets for myself.
It's the
I
choice,
want to,
isn't it?
right? I want to have good gut health. I want to feel good in my skin. I want to be able to wake up tomorrow without a carb coma hangover,
Hmm.
right? And I want to be able to do the things that make me feel good that are going to lead me towards my targets. And these things just won't. So I think once you get on that, this is my lifestyle. People like us do things like this forever and ever. Even when I'm on vacation, people like us exercise. People like us still think about portion control from time to, on when we're at a buffet, we don't overindulge because that doesn't make us feel good. That doesn't help us reach our targets. So I think just having a more open thought process towards what is it going to look like for me to get back in that space where I feel amazing about myself, where I feel really healthy and good and fit and strong, energetic. It'll take some time, but again, I go back to the adage or the quote, dripping water on the stone hollows it out, not through force, but through persistent showing up for yourself day after day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree completely. And I think it's so interesting because so often, as you know, we get women who'll come and be, well, I've been moving more and more. I've been eating less and less. And I think another one of the misconceptions that you've kind of touched on is that more is not always more. And actually it can be detrimental to go too far in any direction. And it's about that consistency of keeping the middle ground in exactly the right place and moving forward in the long term with that can be the most effective way. If you do overexercise or you begin to undereat because you think that the more you do that, the quicker you'll get results, actually our bodies react so negatively to that and it can cause us to stall. And it's about having that patience to stay the course, trust the process, be in the groups that allow you to have that support. So when you're really struggling with this, you have that there that you can rely on. You can have that reassurance from someone like us who can be like, no, it's okay. It just takes time, hold it fast. You're doing great. I think to have that support is really amazing. But I think yeah, that we're so used to, the old cardio bunnies of the 80s, and just let's just burn loads of calories and it will be fine. But of course, we now know our bodies don't react well to that. And I think having that understanding is so helpful because it just means that we don't end up pushing it too far and then actually we don't achieve our goals. And at the same time, we probably burned ourselves into the ground and we're starving all the time. Whereas we want our goals to be progressed in a way that keeps us happy and healthy and motivated and energized. No one should feel deprived or depleted. I know you don't think so either on any kind of goal setting or eating or anything around your fitness and health. You should feel energized and you should feel happy. As you say, it's not easy, but at the same time, it should not feel like you're punishing yourself. And I sometimes feel like women will come to us with the misconception that I've got to be working out every second of the day. I've got to be eating nothing but salad. And that's the only way it's going to work. And actually, there's far more healthier and happier ways to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. 100%.
Fabulous stuff. Okay, let's go to our next question. So, how do you approach the balance between physical activity, nutrition, and mental well-being in your coaching programs, especially considering the unique needs of women when they're in midlife?
Well, this is our little catchphrase is that we're moving daily in our fitness, wellness, and nutrition, right? And so I think a lot of programs will just focus on fitness and nutrition, but we've brought that wellness piece in because again, I just see such importance when you don't take care of yourself or prioritize sleep or prioritize mental health. It is going to impact nutrition and fitness. Like you have no choice. So for an example, excuse me, in nutrition, if you think of getting a lack of sleep, maybe you haven't prioritized sleep, maybe you're burning the candle at both ends and it's not been a huge priority for you, or maybe you can't sleep and you haven't figured out why you can't sleep and haven't gotten the help to help you sleep. Think about how it can impact nutrition. So when we have under that 5 hours a night of sleep mark, around that 5 and less, we have an increase in ghrelin. Ghrelin is the go hormone, which means everything looks tasty, right? We eat more. We're not satisfied by the foods that we do eat. So ghrelin is increased and leptin is decreased. Leptin is the stop hormone, which means I've had enough. It's that signal from the brain to the stomach that says, I don't need any more food. Everything that I've eaten has satisfied me. So lack of sleep increases ghrelin, drops leptin. So now, we may have had goals for being in a calorie deficit and trying to lose body fat, but now we can't even help ourselves. It's 3 p.m. We're crashing and we grab hypercaloric foods in order to satisfy us. So you see that impact, right? When we don't take care of that wellness component in sleep. Think about your mental health and how that can impact even your drive or ability to exercise. Maybe you said you were going to get up at 5 and do your training in the morning and you're committed to that process of your regular exercise, but you have an anxiety attack or you have a depressive episode or you just, feel like staying in bed and sleeping and maybe the stressors are really high and you haven't created strategies to work with the stress that you have. And so that is going to impact your ability to get up in the morning. And again, that will impact your ability to eat. Maybe you will stop eating because of all of those mental health issues, or maybe you'll overeat because of them to help soothe them and help soothe yourself. So there's a lot of ways that wellness impacts your fitness and nutrition. And for us to think that it doesn't is just silly because it's so huge. So one of the things that we focus on is ensuring that you are that priority, that you are implementing self-care practices in order to visit those things and to recognize the impact that they have, right? I'm a huge fan of therapy and of reading self-help books that can help you start thinking about how to care for yourself a little bit better in that regard. Because it's going to the happier you are, the more that you understand your own self, the higher your own emotional intelligence, you're going to be able to interact with that fitness and nutrition just on a better basis, I think. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. I've just been reflecting as you've been talking about it, because as you know, I've been on a kind of a bit of a self-help journey myself over the last 18 months or so. And sleep certainly for me was one of the elements that was massively just not there. I was sleeping maybe 4.5, 5 hours a night. And as you know, my life is very busy in a very wonderful way. I have 3 young children, and obviously, work, and I'm very devoted to that. And is in effect, it's a 24-hour job because we're blessed with having an international business, which is amazing. Um, and just, a bit of trauma, I think, from lockdown and other things as well. I ended up in a state of fairly high anxiety. But the one thing I didn't really realize, and that's why I'm reflecting on it as you were talking, is actually the impact that lack of sleep had, because I think you get so used to it. You just get in the swing of it being your normal. And it's not until you begin to listen to, for example, your coaching, you give a lot of coaching on sleep and other mental health related areas within the membership. And as we begin to listen to those, actually, we begin to hear this is, I'm going to use the word normal. I don't mean it quite that literally, but it's not normal. This is not how you are supposed to be living that is best for your own health. And I think it's beginning to hear those words, hear the messages. And then eventually I was able to begin to see actually that was one of the reasons I was struggling, is because it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. I wasn't sleeping properly. I was awake very early. I was, overexerting my body a lot of the time. And it's only through that you begin to address it. And then as you make that change, as you see, you quite rightly said, it begins to positively impact the other areas of your life. But you don't make that connection, I don't think. And so many women are doing these things that are negatively impacting their health, but they don't really see it because they're in it. And especially, I think, if you are struggling, you don't have that visibility over what you're doing. And it's hard to understand what you should change and what you can change. And I think also, I know we were talking about challenges for women around our age. I think one of the most positive things that's happened in the last even 5 or 6 years is there's now so much more out there in theories and evidence and books and experts and everything. But for most women, that's massively overwhelming. And we see things on social media and Instagram and the latest big thing and the latest, oh, if you do this, this is going to happen. And this is the miracle and everything else. And I think to come to people like us who bring it back to the basics, the consistency, the simple things that can actually help you get results. And we take away a lot of that noise. There are so many women who come saying, oh, I saw this, and I should I be doing this? I'm like, well, no, that's you don't need to do that, because this is where you're going to get the big wins from. Let's address sleep, let's address nutrition, let's get you moving more, let's get your hydration up. All of these things were actually you get the most value and the most benefit from. And I think you and I, we're very good at clearing the noise. We're quite good at that because we are experts in the field. We do our research. We love evidence-based approaches. And also particularly your experience, because you've been in the industry longer than I have, that's what we bring to the table that really benefits the women, because we take away all of that and we're like, it's not as hard as you feel it is. Let us help you get back to the basics. And then they see progress and they realize they don't need all of the other stuff that's going on out there and all of the noise. So I think that's just, yeah, it's amazing. But no, I completely agree that I think certainly for me, I mean, I now sleep probably 7 hours a night, and it's good sleep as well. It's so much better. And when you were talking about the effect of the hunger hormones, I had that terribly in the evenings. I could have eaten a loaf of bread, and on occasions I did eat a loaf of bread. And to be able now to not have that urge and that drive is so freeing, and it's such a comfort, because I've addressed one of the basics, which was my sleep. And that, as you've quite rightly said, in the membership and just within your own ethos, that wellness component is critical, because without it, you can't really fulfill the other elements that you want to. And that's where you bring so much more value, because you're not just about the exercise, you're not just about the nutrition. That wellness and the psychology and everything that's behind that, I think, is fundamentally why what you teach and what you prophesize makes such a difference to women's lives. I think it's the key that kind of binds it all together.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that. But there's a lot of things, isn't there? And you're right. I think we can get overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot that we need to focus on, which is, it's not just, here's an exercise routine, here's a diet. It's just there's hormones, there's sleep, there's stress management, right? These things also have to have a deep dive look, but let's keep the basics too, right? I remember doing a Foundations 101 coaching on nutrition, like, because nutrition can be a whole other matzo ball, right? There's so many polarizing opinions, and it can get quite volatile on social media, right? People defending their own positions. But what are the basics? What are the foundations? This would be a podcast for another time, and we can talk about some of those good
Mhm.
foundations. But I think we have to just keep it simple and go back
Yeah.
to some of those real good basics,
Hmm.
which is why, again, I say just drip the water on the stone in your fitness, in your wellness, in your nutrition. Just do something daily in
Yeah.
those, one of the, all three, one, just move forward, right? And so
Yeah.
you can pick those and start moving forward. That's
Absolutely.
my advice.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I agree with you on the nutrition front. And I also think another misconception is that you have to change everything at once to be effective. And kind of alluding to what you're saying about just even doing one thing a day that is something more positive or is a different change to what you were doing yesterday is still progress in the right direction. You don't have to do everything overnight to get to where you need to be. For a lot of people, it's introducing that change really gradually. And perhaps one week it's only sticking to your protein goal, and then maybe the next week it's thinking more about fiber, and then maybe the week after that it's hydration, and maybe and you build on it slowly and gradually because that means you can stick at it. If you try and change too much too quick, it never works because our lives aren't like that. We can't just accommodate so much change, and then you feel demotivated. And so again, that long haul approach is just so valuable because it takes the pressure off people to change everything immediately, and we coach them through all of those different changes to make sure they can stick to them. It's just so
Yeah,
valuable. Fantastic.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
well,
Another
do
question?
you have time for one more question?
We have time for one more question. Let me see what
Okay.
we've got left, and I will try and pick what I think would be then. This is a good one because it's so
Okay,
just
I'm ready.
looking ahead. What are your goals and aspirations for Move Daily Fitness in terms of impacting the lives of women in midlife globally? And what new initiatives or offerings can your audience look forward to in the future? I know everybody wants to know this, so I picked this one.
Where are we going? I
Forward.
forward. Kim knows I can get overwhelmed quite quickly. This it's hard. I've never run a business before, so I don't exactly know how to grow, but I have a lot of dreams and desires and creative thoughts on how to get there. We were just talking. We need to hire someone to help us, business strategy wise to plan. But that's again another conversation. We definitely we're increasing the men's side. I know some women are. I wondered about that. Like I thought, should we do this? Should we introduce the men's side? But we have a lot of men who follow us over on YouTube and who are in our hustle group. So we wanted to give that an offering. So my son Stratton has come on board. He's a certified personal trainer as well. And he's been putting out some weekly videos. We're going to have some programs available in September for men. So we definitely want to grow that up. Um, One of the things that I've put off, but I've wanted to start forever, has been a retreat. I've promised some of my old time members that that's coming. So that is definitely something that I'd love to do. Wouldn't that be so great to meet so many of these women from around the world and we all congregate in one place and we learn and grow and work out together? I would love that so much. So that is definitely on the horizon. In terms of our membership, we're going to continue to grow that. And Kim, of course, is a nutrition coach, certified nutrition coach. So she is there. We hope to offer a more one-on-one type of program with her and I. So more personal training, more personal nutrition coaching. So that's coming next year, hopefully. Yeah. And what was the second part of the question? So that's in terms of growth.
Yeah, so I think it's just and what in particular do you think we might be bringing that will be positively impacting women in midlife? Anything in particular around? I know we've got obviously you're really re-releasing some of the programs that have been most popular and that kind of thing coming up.
Yeah, yeah. I think, as we move into more of this menopause space, because I'm in it already and Kim's coming
Oh
coming
yeah, I'm
into
well
it.
in there, well in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So we'll definitely have more of a focus on that. Some of the guests that we have coming into our 30 Solid Challenge, which is an online challenge that we run in June and November, are experts in this field. So I'm really excited to be talking to them, right?
Hmm.
People who have been working with women in the menopausal space. So that will definitely be a focus because that's where I'm at in my life and may as well go with what I'm experiencing. So we'll do that. Again, more programs that are more targeted towards women in that arena, in that time and space. But our membership really is our primary offering, because this is where women like us are experiencing things like that. And then we have the support, the camaraderie, the coaching, the workouts, right, to help women reach their targets and goals. So yeah, there's lots coming. Yeah, in 5 years from now, I just hope to be a larger community. We are doing this podcast now too, so I think that's really going to help extend our reach globally and maybe get into different audiences who can learn about us. So often we hear from women, "Oh my goodness, I just found you on YouTube. We can't believe I can't believe," and I've been on YouTube for years and years and years, but you know, sometimes the algorithm just doesn't show you. So when they do say that, it's really exciting that, you know, more and more people are finding us and hearing what we're doing and how we're approaching the fitness space. And so I'm excited about that and excited to work with you for the next many, many years to come.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's great as well that over the last even couple of years, the community has grown. If we think about the Hustle Group, which is our free Facebook group, which is full of Move Daily, like-minded women and people. I mean, that was, I think, when I kind of first found you, that was 3,000 people. We're now well over 25,000 people on that page, and people are sharing every day. That's all free. We post coming soon. We do competitions. We do so much in that group. So that's a great way to come and find us. So I think one of the great things about how the offering and everything you've been doing has developed, having sort of watched it for the last sort of 5, 6 years, is that you continue to give people a huge variety about how they can get involved in Move Daily Fitness. And I think that's wonderful, because regardless of goal, of budget, of time, of accessibility to social media, what platforms people are on, etc., there's always a way to connect with you somehow. And I think that I'm sure in the future we're going to be growing those and making sure that that continues. And it's just such a fabulous way for people to discover you and to be part of the community. Is just, for me, it is what makes it gold. Everything that you do is fabulous, because there are so many people out there who you can see naturally love to be part of the space and just resonate with you. And I think because it's now hundreds of thousands of people across all the platforms, you can see that you are reaching people where they are right now, and you are speaking to them and you're connecting with them, and it's resonating back. And I think it just goes to show how valuable it is in people's lives and how much you kind of bring to that space. And just to, I think in the future, to see that grow even more is going to be something that will be amazing, with all the different offerings and everything. Exciting times, I think.
I'm excited as well. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Kim and I will do this as a regular part of the podcast, Move Daily Talks. So be sure to join back. And thanks for joining Go Move Daily in your fitness, wellness, and nutrition. And we'll see you in the next episode.